kind of grown up in the unity movement, and so they know a lot about this church and where we've been. So I have asked Amanda to begin the sharing.
I've got visual aids.
Yay! Here, let's put the chair over you.
Thank you. Oh, that
So we can all see you and hear you.
Well, most importantly, I need my coffee. All right. Well, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
I'm thankful to be here, and thank you for the opportunity to share a little bit about my history. Can you guys hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Because you're a tall girl.
I generally project well, so I can do better.
There you go.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, as Reverend Glenda mentioned, I've been here for quite some time. I actually started coming here 35 years ago. I know I don't look like I'm 35 years old, but I started 35 years ago when I started 4th grade. And my journey here started because my parents decided, my mom and my stepdad decided to get married, and they needed to find a church. And on their journey to finding a church, my stepdad lives not too far away from here, and that's the home we moved into. And so it was pretty quick coming to find unity. And when we came here, we met Reverend Claudette Ferrone. And, you know, I didn't really know anything about her at the time, but before she became a unity minister, before she ever got married, she was a nun. And that really resonated with my mom, because my mom's birth mother was a nun. And I think my mom found a kinship, a spirit with her, and wanted to learn and know more. Now, the story about my mom's mom, I'll tell y'all later, because I would take the whole service. So anyway, that's how I got here. They got married, they decided Unity was their church, my mom loved Claudette, here we are. And when I first started, we hadn't built onto the church yet. So I grew up in this church in the very small sanctuary where our office is now is where our sanctuary was. And my parents were married there. And I don't remember a lot from that time, but you know, 4th grade that's how old my daughter is now. She's in 4th grade. So I started here at the same age. Anyway, fast forward a little bit, some really wonderful people like Zena and Norval and John and Mary and my parents and Ella and lots of people who were here and very active in the church at the time had a vision for building onto the church. And we built this wonderful space, and the kids started spending time downstairs. And I remember that the next kind of memories for me really were moving into YOU. And I would estimate that probably most of you are not familiar with YOU because we don't have high school students that come here. But YOU for Unity and for the Unity movement is a big frickin' deal, okay? And at the time, we had plentiful high school age students. This is a picture of some of my friends from YOU at the church, and I'm happy to pass this around. But YOU for the Unity movement is an opportunity for high school students to learn how to become leaders, learn how to love themselves and love others unconditionally. And for me, growing up in Unity means that I grew up knowing that I am a child of God, and so are you, and I see that soul for every person. When I look at people, I know the innocence of who they are. And through my lifetime of experiences here, I obviously at growing up have come to understand that that's not the way that everybody sees the world, and I'm so thankful that it's how I see the world. Even in the times when I forget, when I'm in the midst of circling the drain of the nonsense going on in our world today, I am so thankful to have that foundational understanding that you and I, we're brothers and sisters, and it doesn't matter what walk of life we come from. It doesn't matter what our life circumstances are, and some people's life circumstances are tough. And it makes them show up in ugly ways, right? And being in unity and being a high school student in unity, when I say we got the opportunity to lead, YOU existed out of the students, the high school students, becoming officers. So we had presidents and vice presidents, and it still exists today in unities outside of Fort Wayne today, and treasurers and spiritual leaders, and these kids do amazing things. It's where we found our inner power. It's where I found my inner power. And in these amazing things, they create these amazing opportunities called rallies. Like this cool time for these high school kids to get away and be with each other and learn how to love themselves more fully and learn how to love each other more fully and learn how to lead. And so I was an officer in our YOU, Fort Wayne YOU, but you could become an officer for the Great Lakes region, you could become an officer for international YOU. I don't know if you guys know, but there are unity churches outside the US too, right? And so we had kids from all over the world come to our international YOU rally. This is a brochure, I'm so shocked I hung on to it, but from the first international conference I went to, and it was out in Colorado, and I'll show you the t-shirt.
That you all designed, that the
kids designed. So the officers, they planned the entire thing. So our entire agenda was planned by the students with the support of their sponsors. The same thing here. We led our Sunday school. The officers of YOU, we led our Sunday school. But anyway, this is welcome to the metaphysical park. Why are you here? To love.
Aww.
You know, that's a question that we all ask ourselves at different points in our lives. Why am I here? And imagine being a teenager at that critical point in your teenage life, having those questions and knowing that your sole purpose on this earth is to love. Wow. I've kept most of them. This is from a Great Lakes regional YOU. I painted in this shirt. I shouldn't have. But this is from the year I graduated. I am as God created me. All of those words, all of those affirmative words that we should know, every one of us should know, all wrapped around that face, that beautiful face. So anyway, I'm derailing. I'm probably hitting 5 minutes. I'm so sorry. All right, so out of YOU, I learned leadership. I learned how to love myself and others just the way we are. I learned about Sufi dancing and chanting and singing and dancing, and I learned about Reiki. We had dances at these rallies, and I sprained my ankle really, really bad. And having sprained my ankle after that a couple of times, I know that what happened shouldn't have happened. These women came over to me and they did Reiki. I had no idea what they were doing, but they did Reiki, and I got up and I started dancing again. It was a really bad sprain.
Wow.
Fuzzy Lane. At the end of each rally, at the end of each night of our rallies, we had Fuzzy Lane. Fuzzy Lane is hug time. Hug time. And then Stairway to Heaven. You know that song, Stairway to Heaven? It goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
Every time I hear it, I am transported to my YOU time, because that was the last song played at the dance every rally. Every Great Lakes rally, every international rally, we play Stairway to Heaven. So I'm transported automatically back to these wonderful feelings every time I hear it. Anyway, so after YOU, after graduating, I ended up going to now PFW. And Was your stereotypical college student, buried in my life of college and staying out all night dancing, and so I didn't make it to church a lot, but when I did, I really enjoyed the church service. And then after I graduated from college, I bought my house, and I said, you know what, I'm going to become a YOU sponsor, and I always knew that I was going to. And so at the time, the Lindholm kids were coming into high school, the Hathaway kids were coming into high school, the Strickland kids were coming into high school, the Knapp kids were coming into high school, Desiree was coming into high school. And so I had a very active, vibrant YOU that I was the sponsor for. And we spent lots of time here and going to rallies and at my house making them spaghetti and having these really deep talks, you know, these really deep questions that all high school students have. And then they all left and did their college thing. And then we had no more high school kids, and I thought, well, I'm going to take a break. And then I couldn't take a break because there was a board opportunity, and so thus began my journey of on and off the board. And I think about that time Reverend Gregory came, and Reverend Gregory, he brought so much diversity to this community and engaged spiritual leaders from all over Fort Wayne. And so we did this Many Paths to God conference, which was awesome, and World Day of Prayer conference, and he had the Family Reconnect. And so every minister that's been here has brought something unique and interesting to our church. That's when we began our relationship with Stephen McAfee, was when Reverend Geist was here. When Reverend Mary came, she ended up marrying me and my husband. Then we had Reverend Barry, and then no minister, and Andrea, like organizing every amazing speaker that we had for seemingly forever. And then Reverend Glenda coming and getting us involved with the Gay Pride movement in Fort Wayne and this facility renewal. And so there's just been lots of amazing things. In my time here, I've seen members come and go. I've seen members pour their heart and soul into service and get burnout and leave. And that's been really sad for me to see. It's been really, really sad for me to see, because these are people who have loved unity as much as I've loved unity. But if I were to leave you all with one thing, don't burn yourselves out on anything. Take breaks, take time to take care of yourself. Through all of my time here as a sponsor or a board member, I force myself to take breaks so that I can be here and get my spiritual nourishment. Now, I know the unity principles from the very core of my being, but I come here every Sunday to be reminded of what I know, to be grounded, because we get sucked into this chaos of life and all the drama and the silliness that happens in life. And so I come here to be grounded. And this is my spiritual home. And with that, I am sure I have taken at least 10 minutes. So I'm sorry. And thank you.
I have also asked Andrea if she would share. I think Andrea could be called Reverend Andrea, because my understanding is she kind of kept the services going there for quite a bit of time. So I'm sure she has some cool memories to share with us.
Good morning. Good morning. I do have dozens and dozens of wonderful memories, but I will keep it short this morning. First, I want to just, a very brief background of my spiritual journey was, my parents grew up in Methodist tradition, and so did I. Mom was the, Sunday school teacher. Dad was, on the board of Methodist Church in Dayton, Ohio. And so that was what I knew. When I became a young adult, I got involved with the youth group. I was youth leader and youth Sunday school teacher for junior and senior high school. And guess what happened to me, Amanda?
What?
I got burnt out.
Oh my God.
Because it was, I started out just with the youth group, and then it kind of morphed into the Sunday school, and then so I was preparing, a lot, and it was year round. And so I burned out, kind of stepped away for a little bit, and then married this handsome military man who brought me to Fort Wayne, Indiana. So for a while, we sought out some churches, and we actually looked into some of the Buddhist gatherings is what really kind of resonated with us philosophically. But at that time, there weren't many of them speaking English, so we had a little bit of trouble with that. So I was at the dentist one day, and I do not remember what book I was reading, but there was a book on my lap, and he asked me what it was about, and I gave him a brief synopsis, and he said, "You might like this church I've been going to." And the next Sunday I was here, and I opened the bulletin, and I, was looking at what the order of the service would be, and it didn't sound too frightening or too different than what I was familiar with. But when I looked at the second page, it said, "Today, after service, meet your spirit animal guide." I said, "Oh, at church?" Yes, yes. And I, took myself to lunch and came back, and I believe Dice Small was in that.
I was a skunk.
You were a skunk? Oh, of course. I was the hawk, like I am every time I choose an animal spirit card. And that began my journey. It felt, as Reverend Glenda says often, and you hear it said here, people come here and they say it feels like home. And I just felt we belonged. And that was in the fall, and the next, when the new membership, classes started, we were there. And I will say also, to Amanda's point, we came and sat down here for fellowship after service early on, when we had just been coming a few weeks, and Colin Knapp was sitting at a table with us. He was just graduating from high school. And as we listened to him talk, we were overwhelmed by his presence, how he communicated, how he held himself, how he discussed events and things going on in the world and what his plans were for his future. And when we left, we said, if this is the kind of young man that unity philosophy turns out, this is where we belong. So you did a great job there, Amanda, with Colin Knapp. So I know that some of you know this, if you know me well, and I think my experience in speaking and teaching kind of belies this a little bit, but I'm a major introvert. And when I would hear things that were going on here, even though I came to church, regularly and enjoyed the service, and there was always these opportunities to be involved. And I would sit there and think, yeah, I'm going to be busy doing not that. But I did decide I could serve in the kitchen because I could be in the kitchen. I didn't have to, come out and, be super involved and I could, and by the time I was, really doing the work, people were leaving, and then I could clean up and then just go along on my way. And I felt, that was a great way. And by the way, if there are other introverts, and I know you're out there, you're lurking, you other introverts, that is a great way to serve. And then I think Diana Small or Reverend Mary or somebody was talking about taking a trip to Unity Village. And that just, Unity Village, what? And as we say, and as Amanda alluded to, this is not just this little corner of the world here, this is a worldwide movement that we are a part of. And Unity Village, just outside of Kansas City, is a, you know, what, 1,200 acres, 1,600 acre campus that is just absolutely, you can almost see the vibrational frequency when you are on that property. It is just amazing, and if you ever have an opportunity, and as some of us go down for the Nehemiah week, which is, you know, difficult physically, but there are other events and conferences, and if you have a chance, I highly recommend that you go. And this is the last thing I want to tell you about because it's so daggone cool. One of the times that we went down, and I think it was for a Nehemiah trip, Ron Bonar arranged for us to have dinner with Rosemary Fillmore, who is the granddaughter of Charles and thank you, Myrtle. This woman was just amazing. She told us the story when she was little. She had friends over, and Charles would be sitting in the chair, and he would, you know, put down his things and close his eyes, put his hands on his lap, and her friends would say, "What's wrong with your grandpa?" And she'd say, "Well, he's in the silence." Like, you know, doesn't everybody's grandpa go into the silence? She didn't know any different at all. But in the 50s and 60s, you know, this daily word book that we read every day has been published since the 30s, I think. And in the 50s and 60s, Rosemary Fillmore had a TV show, the Daily Word. It was on TV for like 15 years, 12, 15 years. And she had Hollywood actors that would come and talk about, you know, whatever the Daily Word is. And I looked this up because I wanted to make sure I had the names right. So the Daily Word included a narration by many Hollywood personalities who would choose a theme that matched the Daily Word. So Ed Asner, Eddie Albert, Ernest Borgnine, Robert Wagner, Sugar Ray Robinson. Come on. These people, I mean, had this TV presence of the Daily Word. Rosemary co-produced 3 documentary films, and she wrote several books. She built a school in, do you remember? Jamaica. Just an awesome family, an awesome tradition. And again, I will repeat Amanda's suggestion about not being burnt out, but serving. You know, in my introverted self, you've heard me probably say this before, I thought I was happy or content or wise even in my arrogance, thinking that I could sit at home and read about my spirituality and say, yes, that's what I believe. It's not enough. There's no room for growth. Yes, I can sit there all along and say, yes, I believe that principle. But until you're interacting and sharing and serving, you have no room for growth. It's the interaction and the serving of our community. That's where the growth happens. And so I would strongly urge all of you to get involved, even in some small way. Thank you.
The other twin.
The other twin.
It's not weak.
That's what it looks like.
This one I'm talking into?
Yes.
Okay. Magic, divine order, and lifelong relationships. Remember that for me, if you would. I'm not going to go through my whole track record here, but I kind of sauntered in here about the time Andrea did. And you can't hear me?
No.
Okay. I came to Unity about the time Andrea did, and I was searching for a way to navigate this path that we are on. And I stayed away from any service for about, I don't know how long, 4 or 5 years, because I was afraid to mess anything up, because this place is so awesome. And didn't know how I could do that, but eventually I dove in head first, and I'm not going to go into all that. So what I do really want to share are some things that I've learned and resonate with me from Unity. And the first thing is, what did I tell you to remember? Magic?
Magic.
Okay. So there was no accident that when Rev Glenda asked the starting lineup to share, it was Amanda and Andrea and I. Because one of my fondest heartfelt memories I share with this place is with these two ladies, and it allowed me to affirm how I co-create my life and with others. And so 6 years ago, something like that, Johnny Appleseed Festival is our major fundraiser, and the two individuals who had a lot of the equipment and drove that fundraiser decided they were not going to do that for Unity of Fort Wayne Spiritual Center any longer. And so we were left with nothing but, what the hell are we going to do now? Basically. And we didn't have any recipe. We didn't have any pots to soup in. We didn't have anything. And the question and fear rushed in about, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Well, maybe we should just let it go. And Amanda and I think at the same time had our hearts skip a beat, like, what? Because those were all fear-driven thoughts of, well, it's gone, but how can, that's not unity to say it's gone and we can't, move forward. We just had to ask the right questions and figure out how. So Amanda had the nerve to stand up and in the pew up, probably right above us right here, and said, I would like to form a fact-finding committee. This is the way she put it. What she was saying was, we're not doing this. But I would like to make that fact-finding committee to do this, to research some options. And I sprang out of my seat in my assigned seat in the back corner, because I like to kind of get my energy and stuff and from afar and check out. I said, I'm with her. I'll help her. And my friend Andrea over there will help us too.
That's exactly what happened.
That's exactly what happened. And Andrea said, I'll do that. So the three ladies got together, and the first thing we said was, we're going to do this. So basically we set the intention, which is our third basic principle, being able to co-create with the universe and ourselves and others. And so all of a sudden I'm in my brown truck and I'm driving in the country, and there's, kettles out in the fields, and I'm like, there's no accident.
Wow.
And we kept texting and sharing with, what was coming up, and Amanda was able to get the recipe and improve the recipe. And so that's one of the most awesome memories for me there, and the fact that we had one of the most profitable years that year, if not the most profitable years. So, that just tells you what your intentions can do if you work the flow and be in flow with spirit. So part of that magic also, it just made me think, I'd been doing this stuff for a while. Like when I was an athlete, I'd get the free throw line and I'd go, I got 2 shots. I'd look at the scoreboard and I'd go, that's +2. It's done. Mm-hmm. Well, in my egoic athlete mind, I'm like, because I'm a determined athlete. No, I was in the flow. I was in the flow. That wasn't me. That was,
Yes.
me with spirit. And so it still happens today. We were in Spain, and I was like, I need to connect with my dad. He was a coin collector, and I was like, I was a coin collector, I still am. I'm going to find a coin. I told Sherry, I said, I'm going to find a coin. I'm feeling the need. She's like, okay. We walked up 10 minutes later to the top of this castle, and there was a little tiny euro with dirt all over it. I'm like, go. So those things are no accidents, and these are the things that Unity has brought into my life and affirmed for me. The divine order part of it is that I've experienced some great loss. Greatest loss in my life was when my mom died. And I was like, what the heck, That was the worst. I didn't know how I'm going to move on. I was 29 years old, and so it was about 10 or 15 years later when I came into Unity. And Unity has allowed me to question death and loss and anything that doesn't resonate with my soul.
and Unity has allowed me, given me a safe place to do that.